Welcome to this deep dive into a question that haunts so many hearts. Why do we keep holding on to people who hurt us? You tell yourself, I want to move on. I want to forget. But then ask yourself, why is it that this person still fills your thoughts every single day? Why, even though they've caused you pain, do you miss them? Why does your heart skip a beat at every notification on your phone, hoping it's them, even after everything? Let's be honest. What you miss isn't really the person. It's the image, the fantasy, the reflection of who you wanted them to be. This is not simply heartbreak or nostalgia. It's something much deeper, rooted in the very architecture of your psyche. Carl Jung, the great explorer of the unconscious mind, said, "What we do not face in ourselves, we will find as fate." Maybe what you're experiencing right now isn't just a breakup or loss. It's a mirror held up to your soul, showing you parts of yourself you have yet to see, parts you might have been afraid to confront. This video won't offer shallow self-help cliches or tell you to just move on and be happy. No. The truth I'm about to share will sting. It will poke at wounds you tried desperately to hide. But it's only by facing that pain, that brutal honesty, that you will break free. Often, what we label as love is really a shadow playing tricks on us. Our unhealed wounds desperately clinging to someone who feeds them, even if that person destroys us in the process. That attachment, that anxiety, it's not love, it's imprisonment. And here's the hardest truth. The pain you feel when you're ignored or rejected has nothing to do with the other person. It's a sign that something inside you is unresolved, something you have yet to discover within yourself. In this journey, I will guide you through the dark corridors of your unconscious mind. Together, we will uncover the invisible chains holding you captive and learn how to break them. Not by changing the other, but by reclaiming your own inner power. Are you ready? Let's begin. Have you ever stopped to wonder why you feel so deeply connected to someone who clearly causes you harm? How can you recognize abuse, manipulation, and pain, yet feel this silent, unrelenting pull toward that person? The answer is not out there. It lives inside you, deeper than you might have ever imagined. For Carl Jung, relationships were never just social or romantic exchanges. They were windows into our unconscious. When you fall in love, you don't see the other person as they truly are. Instead, you project onto them parts of yourself, parts you don't know, or worse, parts you've repressed for years. This is what Jung called psychic projection. You're not attached to that person for who they really are, but for what they represent inside your inner world. They might embody the archetype of the anima or animus, the primal images of the feminine or masculine inside each of us. These images symbolize what you feel is missing, what you long for, what you believe will make you whole. But when you project these onto someone else, you create a powerful illusion, so powerful that you confuse completeness with dependence, love with submission. What begins as admiration or passion can quickly spiral into obsession when reality doesn't meet your idealized expectations. Suddenly, you start losing yourself. You accept crumbs, you justify abuse, you sabotage your own well-being, all for a love that never truly existed the way you imagined. It wasn't love. It was emotional need, masked by unconscious fantasy. And here's the catch. As long as you keep looking outside for what's missing inside, you will stay trapped, imprisoned by the gaze of the other. You become a hostage to their attention, their validation, their sporadic kindness. And when they don't respond, when messages go unanswered, when attention fades, your unconscious mind screams in panic. Jung warned us, As long as you do not integrate these hidden parts within yourself, you will continue to fall into the same patterns, repeating the same cycles, choosing the same people with different faces. This is not bad luck. This is unconscious destiny. So how do you break free? How do you stop living to fulfill others' emotional expectations and start reconnecting with your true self? That's exactly what we will explore in the next part. The unconscious hunger for validation and the heavy price you pay for betraying your own soul. If this resonates with you so far, hit that subscribe button and join me on this transformative path. Thank you for being here. Now that we've uncovered the hidden prison of emotional attachment and projection, it's time to turn the spotlight inward and confront a truth many of us live every day but rarely acknowledge: the persona. The mask you wear to survive in the world. From a young age, you learned that to be loved, you had to please. You had to be good, useful, desirable, worthy of someone's presence. So you built a carefully crafted mask, a persona, to fit into the expectations of others. This mask was necessary. It helped you navigate social waters, avoid conflict, and gain acceptance. But here's the danger. The more you identify with this mask, the further you drift from who you really are. Carl Jung called this the persona, the character we create to survive. While it's a necessary part of social life, it becomes deadly when you start to believe it is all you are. In relationships marred by emotional dependency, you dim your own light to keep the other person close. You silence your wants, your needs, your pain, all to avoid rejection or abandonment. You may find yourself saying, "I'm fine," when inside you're breaking. You may suppress your opinions, desires, or even your very identity to fit a mold that keeps the other near. But here's the cruel irony. The validation you seek from outside will never be enough. No matter how many times they tell you that you're amazing or how much attention they give you, if deep down you're living a lie, emptiness will remain. It's like trying to fill a bottomless pit with air. This emptiness that gnaws at you, it's not longing for the other person. It's a longing for yourself, for the parts of you you abandoned to be accepted, for the freedom to simply exist without fear of being left behind. Every absence becomes a collapse. Every silence is a rejection. Every criticism feels like a deep wound. And that is where anxiety is born. The tightness in your chest, the insomnia, the obsessive checking of messages, the constant emotional vigilance. What you fear most is not losing the other person. It's losing yourself. But here's the crucial point. This anxiety is not your enemy. It is a signal. It is your soul's alarm, screaming that something inside is deeply wrong. It's the internal conflict of your psyche, fighting to emerge from the shadows where you've locked it away. The louder the anxiety, the more your unconscious demands attention. In toxic relationships, anxiety is not just a side effect. It's a symptom of your psyche being torn in two. To understand this fully, we must recognize the layers within your mind, the conscious and unconscious, the self you show the world and the self you hide even from yourself. When you stifle who you truly are just to sustain a painful relationship, that harmony shatters. What's left is a brutal internal division, and anxiety is the manifestation of that fracture. It's not only the fear of abandonment, but the war between the false self seeking external approval and the true self screaming for authenticity. Every time you swallow your tears to avoid bothering anyone, every time you fake a smile while crumbling inside, you deepen this split. That tightness in your chest, it's your soul fighting to break free from a cage it never wanted to be in. Your racing heart is your spirit fleeing from a life that isn't truly yours. You're terrified of losing the other person because deep down, you have already lost yourself. No reply, no promise, no reunion will heal this. because the wound is not caused by the other. It's the chasm between your false self and your essence. And so, as long as you look outside yourself for worth and validation, anxiety will be your constant companion. But Jung reminds us, this fragmentation is not the end. It's a call, a powerful invitation to look inside, listen deeply to what your pain is trying to tell you, and reclaim the parts of yourself you lost along the way. In the next part, we'll confront the shadow, the dark, hidden aspects of your psyche that drive you to repeat these painful cycles again and again. Are you ready to face the parts you hide? Now that we've peeled back the mask of the persona and confronted the anxiety born from internal division, it's time to face one of the most challenging and powerful forces lurking inside you: the shadow. The shadow is everything you refuse to accept about yourself, everything you hide, deny, or reject because society, your family, or even you yourself labeled it as wrong, ugly, or shameful. But here's the catch. Burying these parts doesn't make them disappear. Instead, they gather energy, waiting silently in the depths of your unconscious, ready to act out in ways you might not expect. Carl Jung famously said, "What you resist persists." And the shadow's favorite stage to perform? Relationships. Unconsciously, you attract people who mirror your shadow. You don't choose pain by accident. It's your shadow guiding you, drawing you toward situations that reflect what you've hidden inside. Think about it. Do you find yourself repeatedly involved with emotionally unavailable people? Narcissists, manipulators? The pattern is no coincidence. Each relationship exposes what you deny in yourself: anger, control, vulnerability, or the desire to be truly seen. You submit to others who embody what you refuse to acknowledge within. You hate in them what you reject in yourself and love in them what you've abandoned inside. It's a cruel cycle, but it's necessary until you bring these hidden parts into the light. As long as you refuse to recognize your shadow, you will continue to attract painful relationships, repeating the same destructive script with different actors. This is not bad luck. It's unconscious destiny shaped by your internal darkness. So, how do you break free? How do you stop this cycle and heal? The first step is courage. The courage to look inside and admit that some of the chaos in your life comes from you. You carry wounds, unresolved traumas, repressed desires, all waiting patiently to be integrated, not ignored. Only by embracing your shadow can you transform this psychic energy from a destructive force into a source of strength. Jung taught that acceptance transforms, but transformation demands bravery. You must be willing to face what you have long buried, to acknowledge the parts of you that scare you, that society told you to hide away. This is the beginning of the path toward individuation, the process Jung described as becoming whole, reclaiming your true self beyond masks and shadows. In the next part, we will explore what individuation means, why it is the ultimate healing journey, and how it can free you from the chains of emotional self-sabotage. Now that we've confronted the shadow and recognized its powerful grip on your life, it's time to step onto one of the most profound and transformative paths you will ever take: individuation. Individuation is Carl Jung's term for the psychological process by which you stop being a puppet of your masks, your unconscious wounds, and your past traumas, and begin to truly become who you are meant to be. This is not a gentle or easy journey. Individuation is raw, honest, and often painful. You will have to confront everything you've avoided: your insecurities, your fears, your self-destructive patterns. You will open your eyes to the roles you've played, the lies you've told yourself, and sometimes admit that you were complicit in your own suffering, not because you wanted to be, but because you didn't know any other way. Your identity may have been shaped by absence, fear, and the desperate need for approval. Individuation begins when you stop chasing those who do not see your true self and start looking inward with brutal honesty. Ask yourself the hard questions. Why do I abandon myself to keep others close? What am I trying to compensate for? What part of me do I give away every time I beg for love? These questions hurt, but they are the scalpel that cuts through the illusion. Through individuation, you begin to reclaim the lost parts of your soul. Every boundary you set, every time you say no instead of yes out of fear, every moment you choose silence instead of begging, each of these is a declaration of freedom. You are breaking away from the false self created to please others and building a new self, more whole, more free, more authentic. And here's the most powerful truth. When you reconnect with your center, the other person stops being your salvation. You no longer need their approval to feel worthy. You no longer need their affection to feel complete. You learn to inhabit your own body, your own space, your own truth. Jung said, individuation is the realization of the self, the core of who you are, free from masks, shadows, and false dependencies. At this point, you realize you don't need those who hurt you to feel alive. Your pain was never who you were. It was just a chapter in your story, one that you have the power to close. You've faced the shadow, embraced individuation, and begun the journey toward your true self. Now it's time for the most critical step, learning how to truly let go. Letting go is not about forgetting. It's not about erasing memories or pretending the pain didn't happen. Letting go means understanding, accepting, and releasing. It's realizing that the person who hurt you was part of a chapter in your life, but they don't have to be part of the next one. Holding on to those who destroy you is like trying to cross an ocean dragging a heavy anchor behind you. You will sink before you reach the shore. Letting go is hard. It hurts. Breaking invisible ties takes courage and strength. Because when you let go, you're not just leaving someone behind. You're burying expectations, fantasies, idealized versions, and hopes that never came true. But this pain is sacred. It is the pain of rebirth, the necessary mourning to return to yourself. When you let go, you make space to occupy the room once dominated by absence and loss. You no longer need to shrink yourself to fit into a tight relationship. You no longer need to mold yourself to the expectations of those who never saw your essence. The time has come to choose yourself, to put yourself first, not out of selfishness, but out of integrity. Because as long as you try to save broken ties, you move further away from your own salvation. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you really are." This may be the most courageous choice you make right now, not trying to change others or fix the past, but deciding with all your heart that you will live from your truth, without masks, without shackles, without repeating the patterns that only bring you pain. So what do you need to let go of today? Write it down. Say it out loud. Use this moment as a symbolic act of freedom, your personal ritual of liberation. Because healing begins the moment you decide to free yourself. Welcome to the final part of this journey. You've uncovered your shadow, embraced individuation, and made the courageous decision to let go. Now it's time to bring all this wisdom into your daily life, transforming insight into lasting freedom. Letting go isn't a one-time event. It's a continuous practice. It's learning to recognize when old patterns try to pull you back into emotional dependency and choosing to respond differently. Every time anxiety rises, every time you crave external validation, pause and ask yourself, is this the old story replaying, or am I rooted in my true self? Reclaiming your power means setting boundaries, not just with others, but with your own thoughts and emotions. It means saying no to toxic relationships and yes to your well-being. It means treating yourself with the kindness and respect you've longed for from others. You'll stumble, you'll feel lonely, you may face fear and doubt. But remember, healing is not linear. It's a spiral. Each time you confront yourself, you grow stronger, clearer, freer. Jung said the privilege of a lifetime is becoming who you really are. This is your invitation to live that truth every day. Surround yourself with people who see your essence, who support your growth without demanding you lose yourself. Nourish your soul through practices that connect you to your inner self, whether meditation, journaling, therapy, or creative expression. And above all, trust yourself. The pain you endured was not a curse, but a call to awaken. You are not defined by your past hurts. You are the author of your own story. Choose to write a new chapter, one of freedom, authenticity, and love that begins within. Thank you for walking this path with me. If this journey has touched you, please like, subscribe, and share. Your healing is your power, and it starts now.